Welcome, friends from all across Oregon to the 13th annual Oregon Interfaith Earth Summit. My name is Peter Fargo. I serve as our Creation Justice Coordinator with Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, which we'll lovingly call EMO for this gathering and perhaps beyond. We are here to reconnect, to reimagine, and to renew our commitment to take action together to protect our healthy environment, which we all need. And we have a little different approach to this year's Earth Summit. As you may have noticed, the news cycle has been a little heavy over the past year or so. And for those of us who care about the environment and other matters of human rights, we've been really busy. And this is a good time to step back a bit and reflect and rest and create and remind ourselves of those good, strong roots that we have to rely on. Like a healthy, resilient forest, deep roots are values across our traditions, across our communities, and within each of us allow us to weather these storms that we're seeing in our world, in our nation, and in our communities. So these roots are not only strong in and of themselves as deeply held values, but they're intertwined across our communities, across our spiritual traditions, and that makes us even more strong and more resilient. We will be sharing a little more about our theme today. And one of the ways that we'll do that is by inviting some leading thinkers to be sharing their perspectives. And the first person that I would like to call on is Reverend Dr. Mark Brocker. And Dr. Brocker serves as the theologian in residence at St. Luke Lutheran in Portland. Dr. Brocker is also a leading Bonhoeffer scholar and author, and is the author of a book that I've been reading little by little over the past several months, Coming Home to Earth. So, Reverend Brocker, if you are available to share your perspective, we welcome you and we welcome your reflection.
Thanks, Peter. The first theme of this Interfaith Earth Summit is reconnect with people like you across Oregon who seek a safe, healthy, abundant, and beautiful world for all. And that theme brings to mind, for me, a fundamental reality of our lives, our interconnectedness. And so our well-being and the well-being of all life on our Earth home depend on waking up to how interconnected we are with other human beings and other creatures. And so in preparing this reflection, I Googled interconnectedness quotations. And I was encouraged that I came across a number of quotations from a variety of faith traditions, and I want to share 4 of them. The first one is from John Muir. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. A second one is by Chief Seattle, where humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Then a third one from Martin Luther King Jr. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. And then a fourth one, finally, by Rumi, a Sufi mystic. The universe is one being. Everything and everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. And so I think today we can look forward to hearing and sharing some of those stories during our time together today.
Can you hear me now? Thank you very much, Reverend Brocker. And at this point, we would like to reconnect with all of you in this Zoom connected gathering across the state. So I'm going to invite each of our hub hosts, knowing that we have various audio visual capacities. We're not going to ask everyone to give a joyful shout to the whole Zoom universe today, but if you can do that, knowing that when I call your location, that we appreciate you and we acknowledge you, and we'd love for you to wave and shout out locally. So I'll just call out everyone who is participating in hub locations across the state. We have Baker City here where I am at the First Presbyterian Church, and in Bend, Trinity Episcopal Church is hosting the Bend Gathering. In Corvallis, the First Congregational United Church of Christ, thank you for hosting. Cottage Grove, First Presbyterian Church. Eugene, the Unitarian Universalist Church. In LeGrand, Zion Lutheran Church. In McMinnville, First Baptist Church. In Pendleton, Peace Lutheran.
Yay!
In Portland, First United Methodist Church. In Salem, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And in Tigard, the Muslim Educational Trust. Warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for hosting this gathering. And we also want to appreciate everyone who's joining us virtually on Zoom. We understand that not everybody can get to a hub location. We didn't have the entire geography from corner to corner of the state covered, and you'll be able to participate fully in this gathering today. Last but certainly not least, want to recognize the EMO tech team, which is Michelle, McKendry, and Christy. They're all working behind the scenes to make everything happen today. So thanks to everyone at EMO for pulling this together. Let's just spend a few moments to go through our agenda so we have the context for the rest of our gathering today. I know we have a slide with our agenda mapped out for us. So first, I'll provide some instructions on our statewide quilt project. And next, we'll talk about how you can discern what you want to express on your quilt square. And I'm grateful to Reverend Rashenda Fairhurst, who is the Creation Justice Committee Chair at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, and she'll be leading us through a meditation exercise. We'll have some time then to hear from folks who have already created their quilt squares. They're going to provide us with some examples and some inspiration and tell the stories behind their squares. And that'll be a great way for us to have a model for how we want to tell our stories after the break. So we'll have time locally in our hubs for show and tell, and we'll also do the same for folks who are joining virtually. And at that point, I'll need to go to a different room and participate in that dialogue. Looking forward to hearing everybody's stories and seeing everybody's quilt squares. It's going to be fun to see all those colors and images come together into one fabric of our community. So we'll regroup after that local and virtual storytelling time, and we'll have workshops because we want to reconnect, reimagine, and renew our commitment to take action together. So these workshops will be an opportunity for us to consider how we can take action that is meaningful and also makes a difference for us locally. So we want to hear your feedback. There are 2 workshops, and one will be out of Bend, another will be led out of Eastern Oregon. And the idea is that we're learning from what's happening in these regions and drawing lessons and also offering ideas and feedback for their ongoing success. So looking forward to your full participation there. And then we'll close with a reflection and send off. So without further ado, let us move to our quilt square instructions. You may have already seen this via email and other announcements in your community. We want to keep it as simple as possible so everyone can participate. So this quilt, we're calling it the Oregon Community Quilt for a Healthy Environment. And this is going to be a digital quilt. We'll invite everyone to create a real a real square, and then to share it by taking a photo of it and submitting it through a Google form or sending it via email. So I'll walk through the options to do that. One of the simplest ways to get a square, because we all have 8.5 by 11 paper laying around, is to choose your favorite color and then fold down the long edge or cut it to make an 8.5 by 8.5 square. Alternatively, if you're into digital creations, you can use a digital tool of your preference and you just create a square. We have a template here that you can use from Canva, and we have a lot of people who have gone that route. And then you don't have to take a picture of it. You can just download the square and send it right to us. We'll go to the next slide, please. Step 2 is what Reverend Rashenda will walk us through, is to discern how you'd like to express your right to a healthy environment. At Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, we are firm in our commitment and in our understanding that everyone has the right to a healthy environment, that we all have these basic needs for clean water, clean air, healthy food, and more and more. And there are different aspects of this that each of us are drawn to. So we want to invite you to express, what is it that you have the right to, or that we have the right to? So some ideas for reflection are here. Is there a word or image that comes to mind for you? Is there a deeply held value that gives you a positive vision for the future? Is it a principle of faith, or a basic human right, or a basic human need related to the environment that you want to express on that square? And then you might consider, is there a story behind that for you? Because as humans, we think in terms of stories, not just concepts. So if there's a story, that would be great. We'd love to hear it. And that could help to inspire your creation. Next step, please. So feel free to keep it really simple. We'll have a quilt the shape of the state of Oregon, and we'll have in the future hundreds of quilt squares that are included on this digital quilt. So you can just write a single word or a phrase, we all have the right to, or a symbol that represents what you're expressing, and that'll still be a meaningful contribution to this overall quilt. You can also get more detailed if you're artistically inclined. Draw a picture, paint a picture, or craft something based on materials that you have on hand, or those digital tools. And you can involve family or friends, make it a group project if you'd like. Next step. Then we'd really like to see if you can do this today. This is sort of the challenge for all of us. And yet know that if you are not able to take a photo of your square and send it in today, we're going to give 4 weeks from this point forward so that we can gather all of those quilt squares before we build version 1 of our statewide quilt. So I'm looking at one of the artists who is interested in participating in that process, and she's nodding and smiling. Glad that she has a little more time to prepare. Thank you, Ginger. So there's a Google form here and a QR code or a short link that you can use. If you have a Google account, a Gmail, then the form will work for you. For some reason, because it's a file upload form, it requires that. So if you don't have a Google account, you can just email your photo of your square to us at creationjustice@emoregon.org. And please include your name, your city, and your zip code, and then we'll make an effort to arrange the quilt in a way that's geographically relevant. Okay, so those are the instructions. Now we want to dive a little deeper into what this means for you and why we're doing this. I'll just note that we would like to invite more people to submit their squares and to tell their stories so that we can express the full beauty and diversity of our care for our environment as people of faith and goodwill across Oregon. So this is a project that I'm excited about, and I think will be a conversation starter over time, and also an opportunity to show decision makers why this matters to us. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Reverend Rashenda to lead us through a guided meditation.
Hello, friends and siblings. It is great to be with you today. My part in our Good Summit this afternoon is to invite a moment of reflection. Our prompt for the reflection are the words, "We all have a right to." The way we come to that will be different for each of us. For a few moments, I invite us to dig this out a little bit, to sink into the soil of the earth around us and feel that support and the moist earth of our shared home. We all have a right to. I invite you to draw in a breath and imagine. Imagine what it is you want to express and share that speaks to what you value. What is important about this natural world, this good green earth and its people? Close your eyes and breathe. I invite you to share why you care, why this good earth, your family, your neighbors. What is it that needs to be said or shared? What does that look like? Perhaps start by imagining a shape, perhaps a circle or triangle or spiral lines. What shape can you see in the heart of your being? Maybe there's more than one shape. Hold that as an inner image. Imagine now those shapes moving outside your body, just ahead of you, where you can get a good look at them. What color or colors do you see that make up those shapes? Blue or green or turquoise or orange? Maybe a combination of colors? Imagine those colors and shapes moving, animated, and then dripping down onto a square white sheet of paper, ready to receive them. Perhaps the shapes and colors now drip or shift into shapes from the natural world, like mountains or rivers, or perhaps they take the shape of tile rooftops and welcoming people, or perhaps the shapes become words, even a single word. And let that settle there. No judgment. Just notice them. Notice the words and forms that you see. Are there textures? Are they smooth or rough? Is there the sound of bright rivers, or wind, or the smell of cedars? Reflect on what those things mean to you. I invite you again to breathe. Breathe and imagine these images and shapes and ask yourself again, we all have a right. We all have a right to... How would you answer this prompt? Another breath brings us back. Open our eyes. We are standing upright again or feeling the comfortable seat that we are in. Our feet are once again beneath us on the cool earth. What rises from your heart to share?
Hi everybody, my name is Frank So. I'm the Executive Director at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, coming to you today from our Portland office. We treasure our natural environment so much at EMO. Not only do we pursue programs to advocate for our environment, but we also spend time to try to gather our faith community along that value which we all share, and that is protection and conservation of God's creation. Today, people of faith and people of goodwill are expressing their thoughts about what matters to them, what we feel the need that we must do. And today, I wanted to share with you mine. It is to cool down. We have a responsibility to take care of our environment. And right now, we know that globally, temperatures are heating up. The use of fossil fuels continues to increase, and that is damaging natural landscapes, the beauty that we see, but also the habitat that we live off of, the food that we get, the animals that need the habitat, and us. We are stewards of our environment for our kids and for our grandkids. It's so important, in this case, that we cool down. And also, I will say, politically, there is so much rhetoric and divisiveness that we need to cool down. Now, before taking this job at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, I worked throughout the world for the State Department and an agency known as USAID. I can tell you that while most refugees and displaced people, over 90%, flee because of man-made conflict, there is still a large percentage, almost 10%, of reasons that people leave associated with the changing climate environment. We must protect our environment, and we must do so peacefully, but with intelligence, determination, and grit. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for coming together as a community of faith, as a community of people of goodwill. I look forward to engaging with you more as we work together to protect our creation, our world, and our place that we are just stewards of. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm the Program Assistant and Volunteer Coordinator at SOAR Resettlement. Each year, we help to resettle hundreds of refugees here in the state of Oregon. Our work begins before the families even arrive to the U.S. We connect community sponsors like congregations, friends, and local organizations with refugees preparing to come to Portland. Together, we help welcome them into safe housing, providing them with essential items like food, household supplies, and support them in building their new life. This can include learning a new language, developing job skills, and finding employment and employment training. Every refugee story is different. People are forced to leave their homes for many, many reasons: war, persecution, and increasingly environmental crisis. Natural disasters, environmental injustice, and collapsing infrastructure are displacing families across the globe. And that is why caring for our environment here in Oregon and worldwide is deeply connected to the work we do here at SOAR. If we want a future where people can remain safely in their homes, we have to protect the places that they can call home. This square that I have here represents the universal right to seek safety. The image of the house reminds us that shelter is more than a physical structure. It represents stability, protection, and dignity. When safety no longer exists, every person has the right to seek it elsewhere. After the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, the world quickly responded, but we knew recovery would take years and years rather than a couple months. In partnership with Church World Service, SOAR helped to create and participate in the Cuban Haitian program to address the gap that we saw with people being stuck between borders and searching for that refuge. The program didn't just respond in the moment, it lasted 6 years, up until 2016 when the administration moved from Obama to Trump. It helped hundreds of individuals and families rebuild their lives in the US after losing everything to an environmental disaster. At SOAR, this is what drives us. We show up every day for families who might have otherwise be forgotten and displaced, because hope and support shouldn't just come with an expiration date. This square is more than a symbol. It represents a promise to stand with people in their pursuit of safety, dignity, and a place to call home. Thank you for listening and recognizing that the right to safety belongs to everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Mackler. I work for Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon as the manager of Northeast Emergency Food Program. We are a food pantry located in the Cully neighborhood of Portland, up near Portland International Airport. This program has existed for over 40 years, and we've been in our location for almost 20. We're very proud of the fact that we are one of, or maybe the largest food pantry in Oregon. We handle about 50,000 pounds of food every week and serve 1,000 unique families with food. And the way we think about this is food being a right, and the fact that everybody deserves the health and benefits that come with having adequate food in their lives. We don't believe that that right is a function of age, ability, race, ethnicity, language, religion, gender, sexuality, or anything. We are all human beings. We are all profoundly equal. And food as a path to financial stability and health is something that we believe everybody deserves. So it's a real privilege to be in this position and come to work and have the mission of distributing food to the people who need it. For the purpose of this meeting, I've been thinking about the relationship between our work in the food pantry and the environment and the concept of justice in the context of the environment. And I think that in a way, food and the environment are so intrinsically linked because our food comes from our environment. And if you've been a farmer or spent time on a farm or have family and friends who farm, you feel very connected to what the earth can provide for our nutrition. We've come a long way. Maybe a lot of us are city dwellers, and for us, the farthest we go back on the food chain is the vegetable aisle at the grocery store. And so the relationship between food and the environment has become more abstract. But when we have the opportunity at NEFP to work with farmers and to work with growers who help bring the food to us, and the pride that they take in growing the best, the healthiest, the freshest, maybe culturally specific food for certain clients, that really reminds us that food is something that is a function of the environment. When we have a healthy environment, we're able to grow food well. When our environment is sick, when it struggles, it's either harder to grow food, or it takes more resources, or maybe more chemicals and assistance for that food to grow well. And so there is an imbalance, there's a disharmony in the relationship between food and the environment. So to me, there's almost no separation if we address the question of what is the relationship between food and the environment. And in that way, I feel very connected to you and what you're working on today, the questions, the queries that you're considering. I want to show the quilt square that I prepared, even though I couldn't be with you today. So here we are. We all have the right to dignity. My message, my feeling, and the approach that I take to my work as a member of the Ecumenical Ministries team is that I believe everyone has the right to dignity, and my path to that is through food from a healthy environment. So I hope you all have a wonderful workshop today, and great collaboration and rich conversations and sharing of ideas. And please don't shy away from the hard questions. Have a great day.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Omojola, and I am the Director of Community Health Ministries at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. I get the opportunity to serve with all of our public health programs here, which includes our Northeast Emergency Food Program, which is where I'm sitting right now, also our HIV services, and our Second Home program. In addition to that, I get the opportunity to work with our Creation Justice program and some of our other ad hoc public health programs, like our Cooling Portland program and some other things. And so this is really where my heart lives. Public health is everything. When I got my MPH, which is our Master's in Public Health, I get asked this question all the time. What is public health? Public health is everything. Public health is the air we breathe. Public health is the TV you watch. Public health is everything. It is everywhere, including our environment. Anything that we touch, anything that comes in and around us is about our public health. And so I am passionate about that. And so when I had the opportunity to do a square today, my square says that we all have the right to create. We all have the right to create. So I also have a passion for things of the Spirit. I am a pastor by training. I am a person of faith. I'm a child of God, and I believe fully that there is a clear intersection between faith and health. And I believe that God, our Creator, made us to be creative beings. And so we have an obligation to steward this earth, this thing right here, with integrity. And this is one of the things that I think EMO does a really good job of doing through the programs that I just listed, but also through the things that I haven't listed, like advocacy efforts that even help our immigration teams, or things that don't seem connected. They help us to create. They help us to be better beings. They help us to show up in this world in great health and wellness, and to just be good and well. And so I am really glad that I get to serve with EMO, but more importantly, I'm glad that I get to show up and create, because this is what we all have a right to do. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Hello, everyone. This is Peter with a brief public service announcement. I want to thank Andrea and Lily and John and Frank for their show and tell, for sharing their quilt squares and the stories behind them. And we'll all have an opportunity to do that. We're about midway through our speakers. And at this time, in the spirit of Andrea's square, we have the right to create. I'd like to invite you to create your square. So if you can find that piece of paper or cloth and find your supplies and begin making. We're here to honor the gift of creation, and we have this opportunity to participate in an act of creation together. So feel free to do that while you're listening to the remaining speakers for more ideas and inspiration. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie, and I work at the HIV Day Center. I would like to let you know that right here behind me is our memorial tree. One of our clients painted it, and we have the names of all of our clients that we have lost over the years. I wanted to let you know this is my sign. We all have the right to dignity. I'm going to use that in reference to housing. With housing and our clients, there are multiple barriers that they have to apply and work through a very, very complex system. So what I would like to do is tell you a couple of stories about clients of ours in relationship to their housing. The first one's a little sad, the second one a little more uplifting. So we have a client, and that client last year during the heat wave refused to go to a shelter, even though we strongly encouraged him and said that it wasn't a good idea to sleep in their car. They didn't listen. So they ended up sleeping in their car in 90+ degree weather, and I got a phone call a few days later from a medical examiner. They asked me if I knew this client. I said I did. They told me that he had passed away from hyperthermia, overheating. The only thing that he had on his person was one of our business cards. So that was the only way that they were able to get in touch with someone that knew him. Another story I want to share is a little more uplifting. It's about a client of ours that finally received housing. He stayed in a shelter for 7 months. He found that finding his home was transformational. It created the opportunity for success, stability, and to build relationships. We consider that the definition of resiliency.
Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Sylvie, and I'm honored to be here today. I'm the Public Health Coordinator at Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, where I work at the intersection of public health, disaster preparedness, and creation justice, where we are grounded in the belief that everyone has a right to a healthy environment. I've got a little prepared statement that I'll be sharing today. My work focuses on helping communities to be safer, healthier, and more prepared. I support resilience hubs, which are trusted spaces like community centers and faith organizations that serve as gathering points and resources during emergencies. I also help lead Oregon Emergency Management's Be 2 Weeks Ready program, which encourages people to be prepared to care for themselves for at least 2 weeks after disaster in simple and accessible ways. I also facilitate Train the Trainer workshops, equipping community and faith leaders to share preparedness knowledge through trusted relationships. And I oversee Cooling Portland, a program that provides free portable air conditioners to vulnerable Portlanders, helping protect people from extreme heat. All of this is grounded in a guiding principle: community is medicine. Our ability to come together and support one another is essential to staying healthy and resilient in times of crisis. Whole community resilience isn't just about emergency plans, it's about social, emotional, and psychological well-being. It's about building communities where people check in with each other, share resources, and feel a true sense of belonging. That kind of connection protects both physical and mental health and helps keep people to come together around what matters most. And right now, that matters more than ever. In a time of deep division, we need to return to our shared humanity. Because if community is medicine, then connection is treatment. So my paper quilt, which I created on a recycled dental plan, is seen here. It reflects both the challenge and the hope, showing not only disruption, but the possibility of neighbors coming together to reconnect with their values and create positive change. Because ultimately, repairing our connection to one another is not separate from public health or disaster preparedness, it's central to it. When we invest in relationships, we strengthen our capacity to withstand crises. When we center justice, we ensure that resilience is shared, not unequal. And when we nurture community, we create the conditions for people not only to survive, but to thrive. So my work and my commitment is to help build that kind of world. One where community is recognized as medicine, where connection is cultivated intentionally, and where everyone has a right to a healthy environment and hopeful future.
So in Islam, we believe that a human being are steward on earth. Caring for the environment is a part of caring for people. In my work at MIT, I see every day how things like housing conditions and access to clean, safe space directly affect families' well-being. Today, I have my square and I chose that we all have the right to live with dignity. I kept it simple and I draw a house here and the trees, which the house will represent the safe place to live. The tree will represent the environment and clean environment. To me, dignity means having basic needs met. like safe housing, air, clean air, and healthy place to live. It shows that caring for people and caring for our environment goes together. So I would like to share a story in my work at MAT. We serve families, actually newcomers, come to the States looking for a better life. So some of them, when they came here, they did not get the I would say, the clean or the safe place to live, because maybe if like, they just came short funds. So I saw like impact on these families who they came here for a better life. And I saw how struggling with when they live in a small house, big families, windows are not like that in good shape that will prevent like cold. So through the community, we hope these families to move to a better house. But what I saw in these families when they were going through these challenges, how they were like patient and show resilience and show they're willing to have a better life for their kids.
What I know with my whole being is that we have a right to a climate capable of sustaining human life and the lives of all our relations. I grew up in Pioneer United Methodist Church and was married there, weaving together Christian, Jewish, and Indigenous wisdom in our service, standing under a Jewish wedding canopy created with the help of my parents. If you look carefully at the wedding invitation that forms the foundation of my square, you will see one of the ways my parents taught me to find my direction. My North Star is a future where everyone feels welcomed and appreciated and safe. This led to my helping others understand our responsibility to protect all living beings from nuclear power and weapons. I became ordained as a Magidah, a Jewish preacher and storyteller, to be better able to share a friend's firsthand experiences. And so these two are woven into my square and my deeply mystically interconnected life. I moved to Oregon, and before 5 months had passed, in a courtroom in the Republic of the Marshall Islands, I became the mom of a baby girl. 9 months to the day, we got a call about our son, born the day before and waiting for us in a hospital just outside of Chicago. When my children were preteens, I turned my fear about the climate crisis into climate action. Miko and Isaac got the chance to join the first federal youth climate lawsuit, Juliana et al. V. US. The nickname for these youth-led lawsuits is Youth v. Gov. Alongside others at Our Children's Trust, together we fought 4 administrations for nearly 10 years and never, yet never, got our day in court. We watched as our government, starting with the Obama administration, stood shoulder to shoulder with those it really valued, the manufacturing and fossil fuel corporations. As disheartening as that has been, Juliana created the legal foundation upon which youth in Montana and Hawaii have won their cases. Now, Miko and Isaac have joined with these other plaintiffs to again take on the federal government in Lighthizer et al. V. Trump. If you haven't heard of Juliana or Lighthizer or Held v. State of Montana and Navahine v. Hawaii Department of Transportation, please look them up. Then join us in supporting the effort in Oregon to get a state constitutional amendment affirming our right to a climate capable of sustaining human life, the right upon which all our other rights depend. My hope is that I and we will be like these apple trees, sheltering our children and protecting our relations. And because I can't tell a story these days without including a song lyric, because music is going to get us through this. Working for a future right around the corner where we can eat our fruit right off the tree. As I honor my children for the good ancestors they are on a path to become, may we all live to see a future in which our children's children honor us as good ancestors who brought the world out of despair into a world in which the rights of nature and the right of all of us to a safe climate is established and our future secured. Because we have truly learned at last to consider the effects of our actions on the next 7 generations.
Hello everyone, my name is Miko Vergun, and in my square I created a scale to represent justice, but instead of drawing a traditional scale, I built the entire structure out of young people. The base, the center, and the arms of the scale are all made of youth figures, and I did that intentionally because I wanted to show that justice doesn't exist on its own. It only stands because people hold it up, and in this moment, young people are a big part of that. On one side of the scale, I placed the ocean and a small island, and on the other side, I drew forests and land. This is really important for me because not only am I from Oregon, I was born in the Marshall Islands, which is a frontline Pacific nation. And in my lifetime, I have seen and experienced the impacts of climate change in both. So for me, this isn't abstract, it's something that shapes how people live and whether they get to stay rooted in the places they call home. For those that don't know, I became a plaintiff in the Juliana v. United States lawsuit when I was 14 years old, and I am 25 now, and I still haven't seen my day in court. That reality could make someone very cynical, especially in these times. And it can make you feel like the system doesn't work or that nothing will really change, and I've totally felt that. But at some point, I made a decision that cynicism is laziness. And because it's easier to disengage rather than it is to keep showing up. So I kept going. And now I'm a plaintiff in the Lighthizer v. Trump lawsuit. And for me, that's about continuing to push forward the same idea that if someone is going to bring the world closer to justice, it has to be the people who are going to live in that future. And it has to be youth. So that's what this artwork represents. The youth figures and the scale aren't just symbolic, they represent who I was when I first stepped into this work at 14. And they also represent what continues to hold me up now at 25. And if I think about this as a story, the beginning is awareness, realizing that something is wrong. The middle is persistence, continuing to show up even when progress feels slow or uncertain. And the ending isn't finished yet. So in my piece, the scale isn't perfectly balanced, but still standing. And that's because people are holding it. And we all have a right to a livable future.
For all of you and for this time together. So thank you once again to all of our workshop speakers and participants. I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us and for offering these opportunities to take meaningful action together. We have all covered a lot of ground today across these 2 hours. We began with opening reflections on our interconnectivity and our basic human right to a healthy environment. In honor of the beautiful gift of creation, we then engaged in an act of creation ourselves by making our quilt squares, expressing what it is that we have the right to. We told our stories, which is yet another kind of creation, and with our listening, we honored the stories of others. As we share our quilt squares and our stories, we notice the many unique yet related expressions of values and rights with respect to our environment. This matters deeply to each of us and to all of us. With confidence in the strength of our shared roots in this resilient forest that we're growing, we leaned into practical workshops. We learned, collaborated, and we're preparing to take action together to grow and bear good fruit. Let us close with a moment of gratitude. To begin, I invite each of you to gently close your eyes. Breathe out. Then take in a slow, deep breath. Hold it for a moment and slowly whisper, "Thank you." We give thanks for this breath and all the life it sustains. We give thanks as we inhale this clean, energized, oxygen-rich air, a free gift from trillions of plants and marine microorganisms, which continually perform a kind of holy alchemy as they transform sunlight, water, minerals, and carbon dioxide and turn it into a substance more valuable to us than gold: breathable, clean air. This is grace. We fill our lungs with this grace as we take another deep breath and slowly breathe out. We give thanks for this breath, for its 21% oxygen content, and for all the breaths taken over hundreds of millions of years during which our planet Earth has maintained about 21% oxygen in the air. This is homeostasis, the capacity for self-regulation and resilience, which we observe in our own cells, in our own bodies, and in every living being. This is a fundamental characteristic that distinguishes life from non-life. Our Earth home is alive, and so are we. May we continue to reconnect with our roots, with one another, and with this good earth. May we continue to reimagine our communities, growing, thriving, and resilient as the world changes around us. To realize our vision, may we continue to renew our commitment to action together. May we keep breathing, and may we give thanks to the divine for this sacred gift of life. We take one more deep breath, and as we slowly breathe out, we say thank you. Thank you all for being here. Peace, shalom, salam. We look forward to being in touch very soon.